Alright, so today we're actually going to talk about a couple of financial books that I've read recently that may or may not be what you're looking for in terms of financial help, financial encouragement, motivation, things like that. So let's talk about these two books right now. First of all, I know that Dave Ramsey is not everybody's cup of tea. There are many reasons why people do not want to support Dave Ramsey in any way, shape, or form. Some of it has to do with his platform, some scandal involving some of the people he's hired. Some of the people just don't like his approach, his mannerisms. Whatever the case may be, I know that there are definitely people out there that just do not want to deal with Dave Ramsey. And it was actually one of those posts where somebody was looking for financial help, and this book was suggested as a biblical alternative to Dave Ramsey. Creating Your Personal Money Map by Ethan Pope. This is copyright 2003, and we're going to get back to that here in a shortly. All right. So the other book that I read is this one. I know her as Prepper Princess, and her book Living on Almost Nothing. I think her name is Amber. I don't remember, but she has a channel here on YouTube, and I know her as Prepper Princess. And I'm actually going to start off talking about that book because it's very short. It's 60 pages. I think it's even less than that. The page count said 59, and my computer would not let me do any more, so I'm guessing page 50 is maybe like the back cover. I'm not sure. It wouldn't even let me take me to a blank page, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. So 59 pages, and this is Living on Almost Nothing, and it is the story of how basically this young lady in her early 20s went from college debt, consumer debt, but I think it had to do with she was living in an apartment with somebody, and it turns out that somebody wasn't paying his share of the rent, and basically she lost everything, had to move back in with her mom, blah, 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 blah. And how she took all of her debt, her circumstances, and changed her life. And I think at one point in the book, she has like $300,000 in her checking, 401k built up, blah, 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 blah. No mortgage, whatever. And it is basically how she lives on almost nothing and has got to where she is. And then the book, explaining what she did, what you can do, and all of these different things. I don't know if she is the cheapest person in America. I believe that there was a video that kind of talked about that at some point. But definitely her methods are, I don't think there's anything new in the book. So she talks about how she has line dried her clothes, turn off her thermostat, just bundle up more, bought fixer-uppers, fix them up, things like that. And she does this within the 60 pages that the book has. So it tells her story, it tells her background, it tells how she kind of got to a good point and kind of had to take a step back and then get back up to a certain point. The thing about I can't remember her name. I want to say Amber, but it's not Amber. But the thing about her is that she's definitely all or nothing type of personality. So when she realized that she did not want to be strapped with all this debt and wanted to change things, okay, so this is why actually this puts me back in perspective. It wasn't getting kicked out of that apartment, that everything. She decided she wanted to change her circumstances and ended up working 2 jobs. And then on Sunday, when she was off, she would take on these temp jobs, which basically means that you can take on shifts and whatnot for different agencies and work even more. At some point, it sounds like she was sleeping between 4 and 5 hours every night. That's how much sleep she was getting because she was working ridiculous amounts from 5 or 6 a.m. till midnight every day, and then taking on Sunday. Well, during that time, she realized she wasn't getting these notices about the other half of her apartment being not paid for, and I went on to there. So first of all, she's single. She is in her 30s, maybe 40s now, and is single. So it's just her and her dogs. Like I said, when she's driven, I was thinking, I don't know if I could do where I'm living off of 4 to 5 hours of sleep. And this was in her 20s. So I think she is still in her 30s. Couldn't do it. And she goes and shares some of the extreme things she's done, like picking up bottles and cans and turning them in for recyclement money. And yes, I have done that before. It's how I kept my kids in diapers when they were young. I would go to the parks, I would dig through the trash, bring a whole lot of sanitizer with you, and you do what you can, and you do what you gotta do. So what she has shared is nothing new, but I have not gone and gotten 2 jobs as a mom, working from dark 30 to past midnight in order to pay off debt. Now, that being said, one of the greatest blessings that my husband and I do is we despise debt so much that we do whatever we can not to get into any kind of debt. So this book, like I said, it was 60 pages. I did do the Kindle book. Frugal tip, when you select on your Amazon Prime to like delay your shipping for X amount of time instead of doing it next day, yeah, sure, deliver it to me on Friday. Which is 4 days down the road. Yeah, I'll take that $3 credit to apply towards books, movies, whatever. So technically I got the book for free. But I believe it's on Kindle Unlimited. It's on Kindle. You can buy it as a hard copy. And then, like I said, it's like 80 pages. No library in my area had it. So there. My throat is so dry today. So all in all, I think I gave it 3 stars because for me, I did not find any information in it new or something I could really take away. There's many tips, things, there's a lot of statistics in there that you can kind of take away. Like, it's statistic that the average American family spends this amount on food, this much on takeout, this much on clothes. This is what I do. There's a lot of things like that in there. And she just breaks it down point by point by point. Housing, clothing, food, debt, what you got to do, things. The thing about the book and watching Prepper Princess is that the personality that she has reminds me so much of my sister. That is just tell it like it is, keep it short and snappy, and I feel like the book really did well in that. So if that's something that would be kind of encouragement to you, to, I don't know, kind of get that motivation going, kind of to, I don't know, like I said, it's not a whole lot of new information to me, and I think that is the problem with a lot of people that are just trying to be financially solid and wise, is that the information out there really isn't a whole lot of new stuff out there. The information you're gleaning on is not so much about the information as much as it is kind of putting you back on the right track, trying to remind you of where you're heading, what you're going, what it's going to take to get there, keep going, motivation, whatever you want to call it. And so I think a lot of the books that are coming out like that have that trajectory. There is one of the things that I really think that is going on today is that, you know, there's all these things of how to be successful. Make your bed every day. Clean your toilets every day. There's a whole article on how financially successful people clean their toilets every day. or make your bed every day, or read for 20 minutes every day. The consistent thing, or the thing that makes that successful, is doing something consistent. It's not necessarily that you're making your bed every day, but you're doing a consistent daily habit. Washing your toilets, reading your book. You're doing something consistent and you're disciplining yourself in that. And those are the two key things in anything that you got to take away. It's that consistency, and it's that self-discipline and diligence and working towards that goal and remaining that way. So even when life is chaotic, you're still making your bed every day. You're doing something that is still remaining consistent and proactive into helping you set up your life better in some way, shape, or form. And so that's the kind of thing with any of these books that are going out there nowadays, is that their information is not new. It's kind of like what Solomon said in Ecclesiastes. There is nothing new under the sun. It's kind of like when you're training a child. You regurgitate what you know constantly onto them to train them up, to discipline them up, and to help them build those skills within themselves. And so I think a lot of books are like that, which kind of brings me into this one, which again was, look at all the tabs, which was recommended by somebody to somebody else who was trying to kind of start building their financial life better. Again, the person just didn't necessarily think Dave Ramsey was the greatest, and this one was all Christian and therefore superior in knowledge. Alright, so I kind of went into this with a research mind. I took notes. I have things. I have all kinds of stuff on here. I'm going back to what I said, that there is nothing new under the sun. Now, again, this was copyright in 2003. Dave Ramsey had already been established at that point. Now, he may not have been as well known, maybe is the word I'm looking for. He may not have been as well known in 2003, but I think he was definitely making a name for himself. People like Larry Burkett, Dave Ramsey, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, anything that has to do with the Christian financial biblical principles is going to have a lot more of, you need to pray about your decisions, you need to tithe more, you need to do things like that. I definitely did take away some things in here. I want to say, like, the first half of the book is kind of building a reason on what his budget plan is and how he's going to have you budget, why you should have a budget. Again, more American statistics back in 2003, blah, 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 blah. And there was definitely some things that I found that were useful and helpful. Probably the biggest thing that I can take away from this is, at the beginning, he's kind of talking more about your attitude and your discipline in making sure that you are living within your means, as it is with every book, even the Living on Almost Nothing book. However, a lot of his principles are basically the same as Dave Ramsey. If you don't like Dave Ramsey's process, you may not like this one. This one doesn't necessarily say cut up your credit cards, but it does say to make sure that you are only using them when you are out of debt. I did have some problems with this. Let me see what this is. Okay, yeah, I need to get to that one. Actually, this is one of the problems right here. Again, this is copyright 2003. But I want to know is, what the heck were they charging for checks in 2003? Were they charging for checks? Because his solution to your free money, your personal allowance, was to write yourself a check and go cash it. If you're going to go to the bank to go cash a check, why not withdraw from your bank account. Why are you writing? It was like that with a lot of things. Like write yourself a check. Write a check. And I'm like, there really was no purpose in writing a check. And if it was to balance the checkbook, I'm going to tell you right now, we have a balanced checkbook by using the check register, and every time there's an ATM transaction, we write it down. Or withdrawal, even if I don't use the ATM. Anytime there's a withdrawal, I write it down on that checkbook register. I don't have to spend money to write myself a check, especially since the price of checks these days are ridiculous. Because we just had to order some. So that was something that I did have kind of a problem with. He talks a lot about prioritizing your finances. And one of the priorities that he has is giving to God's kingdom. I'm going to use that. Giving to God's kingdom. And there are some very kind of inspiring stories in here. One family that lived off of 10% of their income and gave away 90%. I want to know what their income was that they were able to do that with, because I don't know if I could live off of $200 a month. Just saying. But so there's things like that. There's things like, hey, prioritize how you're going to give to God first and foremost, because biblically, this again, we're going back to biblical things. This is what we're supposed to do. Give the first fruits, the 10%. Give to God's kingdom. We're here on earth to further God's kingdom, and therefore we should be supporting that. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I do disagree with the idea that the only way to do that is to write a check and put that in the offering plate. There are many ways that you can further God's kingdom, which is not of this world, might I add, without dropping something into the offering plate. James, for example, James tells us to help the fatherless and the widows and help in those ways, the poor, the needy. And so that may not be giving it to the church, which then the church disperses after it's replaced all the pews. Yes, I've seen this happen before. Which were perfectly good pews, by the way. Moving on. But there's other things. Even if it meant giving to maybe a church that wasn't yours, but a church that had a food pantry so that it could help its community members. Something like that is just as valuable to helping God's kingdom as having a church building where people can come and meet. There's multiple things you can do, and it's not that he said that they weren't possible or there, but a lot of this book is about don't neglect giving, and don't neglect giving, to the point that I was kind of getting a little irritated, because it almost seemed like the only way we were going to be blessed in any way, shape, or form was with our giving. And in Corinthians, I think it's Corinthians, it might be Acts, but basically it's God loves a cheerful giver. You give what, whether that's the 10%, the 20%, the 5%, whatever it is, God loves a cheerful giver. And that we're going to go kind of into a sermonized thing that I'm not trying to head into. Our purpose to give is not in order to get. I'm not going to scratch your back, Lord, so that you can scratch mine. That's the mentality that it's a line that's danced a lot, and it really bugs me, and it's a line that he didn't cross, but danced. Anyway, another thing that he's like, if your mortgage payment is above 40%, you need to consider moving and decreasing your mortgage. Not saying that he's wrong in this. He did say that, like living on less, the best thing to do is then to find a fixer-upper house. First of all, this guy has 2 kids. Pepper Princess is a single person. If you've ever lived in a house trying to fix it up with a family there, let's say it's a 1-bathroom house. This has happened to me before. The 1-bathroom house, that bathroom needs to be gutted and redone while your husband's working full time. Yes, it is cheaper to get a fixer-upper, but not necessarily always. It's cheaper maybe at the beginning, but it still costs money to fix up. And in order to have all these things, in order to fix it up, like, I don't know, getting a porta potty or something so we can fix up the bathroom, or having to get a hotel room because we don't have a bathroom, and the hotel room at least has a washer and dryer that's going to be a little bit cheaper. Like, there's all these other costs that you've got to think about. Moving costs. Nowhere on here was that addressed. So, if you're only going to decrease your monthly budget by a little bit, it may not be worth it. And that's something that people don't understand. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. I'm not saying don't, go smaller in order to afford everything. I'm saying that there's a lot more involved than a cut and dried book can share. Like I okay. Yeah, this was a pet peeve. At the beginning, he talks about how his first financial plan that everybody could follow involved like this 3-ring binder, 45 tabs, all this. It was too complicated. But another thing was like this 3x5 cards where you would take and you would track all of your spending. And he mentions it over and over and over and over and over again. So I don't think he really likes those 3x5 cards to track the spending because, oh my goodness, did he mention it a lot. Okay, so the 3 objectives of this plan, and he calls it a MAP. It's a money allocation plan. Money allocation plan. It's a zero-based budget, like Dave Ramsey. It is a pay off your debt through snowballing. Dave Ramsey. Again, Dave Ramsey didn't like copyright all of these things, or Dave Ramsey might not have been the first person to come up with all these things. But my point being, like, if you don't like the Dave Ramsey principles and how he does things, this is pretty much a lot of the same thing. They throw a little pray over your budget before you do it. Talk to your spouse. What happens when you and your spouse are in conflict? A lot of it is just the same thing. And is there anything here that, anybody could really take away? Sure, absolutely. But if you're looking for something different than Dave Ramsey, I don't think this is the book for you. If you don't want to support him because you have issues with the guy, but the plan works, obviously. Here's another person doing it. There you go. There's an option for you. So, anyway, those were my thoughts on these 2 books. If you're looking for some financial books to read, there you go. If you have any financial books that you suggest to me, leave them in the comments below. I'm intrigued now because I have a... Yeah, anyway, we're going to move on. Keep talking about this all day. So thank you for watching today's video. I'll catch you on the next one. Animoti. Adios.